Welcome everybody to the turn 7. I am having what I'm gonna call tea time with my hot water and honey with salt. I hope you join me with your tea or coffee and we'll get the morning started. So I wanted to do a recap of kind of just a story really. So over the weekend, played Commander with my play group, and so actually, let me back up 2 weeks. So 2 weeks prior, we played, and this was kind of the end of my reign of tyranny. But I had been winning almost every single game for like 3 or 4 sessions in a row. So I was doing really well, and one of the guys in my play group, and I'm probably gonna, I don't know if I'll talk about this on the podcast too, but he's really cool. I really like him. It's a new play group, so like I'm still getting to know people. But when he plays, he complains like nonstop, and like I'm very patient, but like it gets to a certain point. You know what I mean? And so I felt his frustration because what was happening is he's playing in an Ala deck, and so this is the template that I use when I build my decks. I like to use this template. It's super useful. Basically, what it is, just to explain it, is these 30 cards is what the deck wants to do. These 10 is my control package. Ramp, draw cards for fun cards, and then 37 lands typically. And obviously this changes with depending on the deck. The ramp can be a little bit different, a little bit nuanced. Like for instance, you can see in my Coma Cosmos Serpent, I use Phyrexian Metamorph as ramp. I use Copy Artifact as ramp because other players like to play Arcane Signet and Mana Crypt and Soul Ring, so I could just copy their artifacts and or potentially even better artifacts, and or in a late game scenario. Oh my gosh, I cannot do this series without needing to sneeze. Sorry. But if I get Phyrexian Metamorph later in the game, instead of running a Soul Ring or an Arcane Signet or something like that, it could be something way more powerful, right? Like it could be are you okay?
Yes.
Okay, you gotta be careful, okay? It could be a Nyx Bloom Ancient, right? Which is way better than a Soul Ring. So that's kind of how I think of it. So we're gonna go on some tangents. I think of Commander as like, if you start off fast, you're gonna get dogpiled, and the person who usually has a Soul Ring start does not win the game. So a lot of my decks won't even run a Soul Ring at all because, and of course I was talking about this as in my draw category, but same thing goes for like bribery. Bribery is in my ramp. Like I could go and steal your Nyx Bloom Agent, right? So, but if you start out fast, you get dogpiled, and the person who, like statistically, what I've seen in my own games is if you have a Arcane Signet or a Soul Ring into an Arcane Signet start, like you usually get dogpiled. You usually don't win that game. Can you win that game? Have you won that game? Sure, it happens, but I believe more often than not that you will end up losing that game. So it's better to have a slow start that kind of starts like this and then really ramps up as the game goes on. So that's how I build my decks, to be super janky later, all the jank, but it just takes a little bit longer for it to build up to that. And it just, I love it. So anyways, basically what's happening, obviously you can see the guy's name is Adam. Great dude. He really is a cool dude. He He's just a player that he really struggles with just letting the game happen and it not like internally like cause him turmoil, which then he has to get out of his body externally by complaining or whining. And I'm not trying to talk smack or anything like that. I want to talk about it because I know players like this exist a lot. There are a lot of players like this. If you're a player like this, work on it. Please work on it. So I was thinking about it. So I'll catch up to this. So basically, he was like, all my deck does is it only draws mana, or it only draws cards, and then he can't, and it's just mana. Basically, he never gets to do what the deck wants to do. So he's just like, I'm cursed. I am cursed. So this is how they get. I'm cursed. This is all my deck does is I draw, and I just draw into more ramp, and then I ramp, and then I can't do anything, and it never does anything. And so it's just like from turn 1 to like turn 6. This is it. He's just doing this for 6 turns. On everybody else's turn, he's just non-stop. And it's like, dude, please stop. Just stop. But I wanted to help him out because I saw that was true for his deck. So, I mean, we had weeks of this Inala deck that was not doing anything. And I was like, I don't know how else to tell you this. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, he's jumping from couch to couch. I said, I don't know how else to tell you this, but it's your deck. Your deck needs to be doctored. Your deck needs help. And he's like, and so it's just, no, it's not. The deck's perfect. It couldn't possibly be the deck. I said, all right, man, let's do this. It was the end of the night. We just got done with the last game. He was frustrated. I said, let me see your deck. Just give me your deck. I laid out his deck. I took a photo of his deck. And I said, let me take a look at it, and I'll let you know what I find. I mean, take it or leave it. If you want to take the recommendations or the suggestions that I give you, great. If you don't, that's totally fine too. I said, but let me take a look at your deck and see what's going on. So what happened is I took that deck, and so this was the deck. I put it into the categories, and this is how it came out. So the deck was missing, 7 draw cards, and it was missing, so these are rows of 10, 15 cards of what the deck wanted to do. And when I tell you, everything that was in this deck, in these slots, was control. His control package was effectively like 20, 30... right? So this is 1, 20. It was like almost 20. It was like 25, 26. Well, if you include this, right? So this is 10, 20, 30, 32 control package cards in an Inala deck. And Inala doesn't want to. It's not like a control commander. Like it has like. Yes and no, right? But what it wants to do is it wants to make wizards. It wants to have ETBs. It wants to do wizardy things, which can be control, but it doesn't mean that you want to have every single counter spell ever printed in your deck, right? So that's essentially what was happening. So these were kind of the things that were in there. So Cryptic Command, Force of Negation, Pact of Negation, Force of Will, Decree of Pain, Damnation, Kindred Dominance, Counterspell, Vandal Blast. I was just like, this is ridiculous. It's like, no wonder your deck's not doing what. And he will admit it. He will. He has not yet, but he will admit that I fixed it. So then we move on to like the second iteration. I'm like, okay. I asked him, I was like, what is it that you're wanting to do? And he was like, I want it to be like ETBs. And I just do islands just for testing. And then we ended up around here, and then I think I just put his like the same land. So ignoring the lands, this is kind of where it ended at. And then after playing last week, because I was misinterpreting Trophy Mage, which I think is, hold on, Trophy. There it is. So I was misinterpreting Trophy Mage as it's one blue, two colorless. So two colorless and a blue for this wizard that enters the battlefield. It says search your library for an artifact with converted mana cost of 3. I thought it was 3 or less, so I thought he could like play that, make an Anala trigger, possibly a Panharmonicon, or there's that new craziness, Roaming Throne. So it would be Trophy Mage, and then an additional Trophy Mage copy from Anala, plus Harmonicon, so he'd be able to go and search for 4. So I was like, yeah, you can get Soul Ring, you can get Sculpting Steel, you can get Urza's Incubator, and Thought Vessel, or whatever. But that wasn't the case, so we decided, so I told him, I said, I would probably actually take some things out, probably Stony Brook, Banneret, and something else, and put in the altars, so then he can actually make good use of the Skull Clamp. He can sacrifice the copies that he makes from Anala for mana, and he really likes to steal people's stuff, like take control of their stuff, which is totally fine. So expropriate, puppeteer, clique, those kind of things. There's some others in there, but take their stuff, and then he takes control of it. And it's like, well, and then sack it. So he was playing Wonderwine Prophets, and I told him, I said the only thing I regret from last Sunday when you had the Wonderwine Prophets that you finished the game with was not making you play out all those turns, because the only person he could continually hit was me, and he probably would have won, I'm sure, but it's that card. I'm like, if you're going to play that card, I'm going to make you play that card. You know what I mean? So what I'm hoping is that...
Hey, Papa, play Minecraft.
I'm not going to play Minecraft right now, baby. Is that he takes out the Wonderwine Prophets, replaces it with Insurrection, and then if he has those altars in there, then he can steal everybody's stuff, smash them with it, and then go to his second main phase, sacrifice those 4 mana, and that I think is a fun way to take over the game. And if somebody is interested in me like going over that deck, then I can do that. But basically, I fixed it. It's way better. He won like 4 out of 5 games after I got my hands on his deck, and he swears that that it's not the changes that I made, but so I stayed up until like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I was obsessed because I never stay up that late. I see it. And then I sent him the deck list the next day, and I was like, hey, this is the list. If you want to try it. He immediately spent like $150 on cards, bought everything he didn't have, threw it into the deck, and then just took over and just dominated. But that brings me to my next thing is, so even though he was getting draw, he was getting ramp, his deck was doing what it wanted to do, he was still doing this non-stop complaining. So now, like, I couldn't feel bad for him because he was wrong. He was winning all these games, and he was he was getting draw and ramp, and his deck was doing what. So I was like, you can't actually complain about that, because that's not what's actually happening. Like, you are legitimately, like, you need to just stop complaining, just play the game, enjoy the game, good and the bad. Stop losing your mind whenever anybody interacts with your stuff, because it's like he'll counter everything that you do. Like, he'll desertion you, he'll mana drain you, he'll recur the mana drain with things like where's it at? Was it Archaeomancer? And then there's another one. Oh gosh, is it Chronarch? And he'll just keep recurring mana drain so he can do it over and over and over, which is awesome. I'm like, dude is obsessed with counter spells. I'm like, well, let me just give you 2 counter spells, but you can play them over and over and over, potentially in this deck. So you can still play a bunch of counter spells, but they're just like 2 really good counter spells instead of 8 just card for card counter spells, right? So his deck was doing, and it got to the point where I was like, all right, dude, like, you need to stop. Like, it got to a point where I was just like, dude, you have to stop. And he knew that it was like, okay, especially because he was like winning almost every single game, and so I was thinking about like, how do I keep playing with this guy, because I do like him. I just can't, like, there is a certain point where I'll be like, all right, c'est la vie, my guy. I'm going to go look for a different 4th player for the play group. But what I think of what I'm going to do is we're going to do a table rule called a complaining counter. And it's for anybody, it's not just for him. He's probably going to be the majority recipient, because he's a fan of like scooping at instant speed, which we've made the table rule. You can scoop at sorcery speed, and so what I think we're going to do with him is a complaining counter with everybody. So everybody at the table, if and I don't know if I want it to be like a vote thing where it's like, okay, do we want to give him a complaining counter? I'm voting for him to have a complaining counter. And then if he's like, yes, all right, you get a complaining counter. And then the complaining counter, because I don't want it to be like him losing life. I don't want it to be him losing the game when he gets to a certain amount of complaining counters, because I don't think like that will help him improve with his complaining. So what I'm thinking of is that the complaining counter will counter your next interaction. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say he's complaining. We're all like, hey, I'm voting for him to have a complaining counter. The vote passes. He gets a complaining counter. He's at 1 complaining counter. Now, the next time that he would try to destroy a creature, try to counter a spell, try to counter an ability, try to destroy an artifact or enchantment, or return a permanent to somebody's hand, or tap a creature, like tap an opponent's creature, it's automatically countered. The complaining counter goes away, but that interaction is countered, so it will affect his game. It will decrease the value. So it's not like game mandating. It definitely affects the game, but like, he'll still have to play, but he'll also have to be like, oh man, I need to shut up so that I can do my stuff, because now he'll have to burn a mana drain to get rid of that complaining counter, and then after that he can do a Cyclonic Rift, or he could do like if you terminate a board wipe, anything, it's automatically countered. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think that's what I'm gonna, and I he'll go for it. He'll do it. I'm pretty sure. So that was my. That's what I'm gonna do with my play group, and we'll see how it goes. So anyway, so this will probably be the last episode of talking about the Grixis deck, and then we'll jump into something new. If yeah, we'll just kind of end it with that. So, Apocalypse. Okay, so here we go. We got our two our 2 on the face commanders. We will draw 7. And I'm just going to do how I do it in my play group. So we actually draw 10. And then we throw back... we throw back 3 cards. And I think I actually replaced Dictate of Erebos. Oh, I replaced it with the Meat Hook Massacre. That's what I replaced it with. So I'll probably just go... So we got 1, 2, 3, and then we can throw back. So this is black, red, and blue. We can throw back probably the red mana. Alright, shuffle the deck. Turn 1, go. So we'll start off with... Oh, it's one of these. So we'll start with this. Tap. Pay 1 life. Sacrifice it. Search your library. I would want to go and get Xander's Lounge, because it is a swamp or mountain. It is actually both, so that'll enter the battlefield tapped. And then we'll go to turn 2, untap, upkeep, draw, and we will Polluted Delta, or Delta pay 1 life, tap, sack, search, find a card, and I don't think the
Hey, what
I
does
don't
that
have a
mean?
shaman here.
How about 10?
Oh, yeah, good job, baby. Yeah, so I don't really have another card like. Maybe we'll just. Honestly, what I would want is
2-0. Now
probably
we're
Watery
late.
Grave.
Papa,
Blue black.
2-0. Hey, Papa, 2-0. Now we're late.
2-0.
Yeah.
20. So I would let this come in tapped. So I don't really need to do anything with it. We'll go to turn 3. Draw for turn. And we'll do. So we're sitting on 3 mana now. Okay, so now. So I'm actually going to turn that off. Oh, 3 mana. And honestly, what baby, you could watch it in Mama Papa's room on the big TV. Yeah, in my room. Okay? The big TV. So I would assume I could play a Phyrexian Metamorph here, pay 2 life, and it turns into a Soul Ring or an Arcane Signet or whatever. We'll call it an Arcane Signet, even though, I mean, it could very well be a Soul Ring or something really cool. So now we'll do turn 4, draw. Sadly, we miss our land drop, but we are at 4 mana now. So I think I might. It kind of depends on what's on the board right now as to whether I'm gonna keep ramping or just go into doing the deck stuff. So let's just go Tormod, turn 5. Another land drop missed. Oh, it's so sad. Yeah, this would definitely be a scary place to be right now. This is definitely a scary place to be. So I'd probably just be trying to politics my. Now, if this was a soul ring, I could do 3 for secrets, but it's not. So we'll go turn 6. See where we end up on turn 6. Yay! All right, so land drop, 37 lands. Should be getting land drops, and now we could. I hate my mouse. Oh my gosh. It's like something with my USB ports. They're so frustrating. Imagine trying to play League and your mouse like is constantly stopping working mid game. Oh my gosh. Anyways, so what we could do here is probably maybe just do Secrets of the Dead into Entomb.
Hey.
Go and get
1, 2. Now we're mates.
our actual commander. 1, 2 makes 12.
How about 0, 0, 1?
Which goes
Now we're mates.
0, 0, 1 is 1.
1,000.
1,000. Okay. And then
1,000. 1,000.
we could do. Alright, so Gravecrawler comes into play. We get a Tormod trigger, creating a 2/2 zombie tapped. And some games it just happens like this. It's totally fine. And then this says whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, draw a card, so we'll draw a card. And I think we actually played a land this turn, which is so sad. But I think that's all she wrote. And then we'll draw. Okay. So now we really need, sadly, a sack outlet. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for City C Undead Vizier. And that's going to exploit Gravecrawler. And then we get to search our library for a card. And probably Ashnod's Altar. We might actually want to do like a 1 cost. Maybe like a. Ooh. So the problem is we only have 2 mana left over. And that's really not going to be enough to... I guess what I would... Maybe this time around I would just get Skull Climb. Because the other choice that I have is Dockside. Let's just do Dockside and see what happens. Because this is late in the game, right? So if we Dockside right now, like a realistic number, what do you want to say, like 10? 10 is a pretty realistic number. So let's just do 10. Let's do 10. And then, so from here, we could do, I don't want to do that one. Wait, maybe I do want to do that one. Oh, I actually can't do that one because I only. Oh no, that's treasures. It's any color. Because I'm thinking if I do... I could do that for this, which gives every non-zombie creature -1/-1. And then another -1/-1. Oh, wait. Yeah. Another -1/-1 for Gravecrawler, giving everything -2/-2, so Dockside dies. And then I draw a card from casting, and I also get another zombie here. And I'm drawn into a dope Liliana Vestland. And then we have 4 mana left over. I don't think this is really going to be... I guess we would just go with Mahadi. And then we'd move to the instep, and I would get treasures equal to each creature that died this turn, which would be...
Papa, can you take the black stone? This one?
No, go put it back, please. Sorry. Wants to make a huge mess with Legos. And I think we have... What did we have die? Just Dockside. Oh, you know what? Dockside. It would be Dockside plus Gravecrawler plus we gave everything -2/-2. So there's a good chance that, you know, maybe like 3 other things died or 4 other things died. So it'd be 2 plus... So that would be how we would end our turn. Wasn't a great start for this deck, but if we again went into turn 8, this is why I say, like, this is one of my, you know, decks that has a little less power than other decks, to be honest, than my other decks, but I like it because it's just crazy. It's just a crazy deck. So what I would do here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of those is blue. Play the Scarab God, and then I would go 1, 2, 3, 4 to exile target creature. So I would exile Dockside, and this, what's cool about this, exile target creature card from a graveyard. So I have 3 other opponents that potentially could have something more useful for me than a Dockside. Like a sack outlet would actually be way better. So there is that, and we'll get a copy of our Dockside Extortionist. He comes in as a 4/4. And we would probably get another, 10 treasures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Might as well throw the Vanquisher's Banneret into play, and then just go to combat. Probably just swing out. Or politic into seeing if somebody would kill my stuff for me. They probably wouldn't, especially with the Noxious Ghoul on the table, to be honest. But the other thing we could do is 4, 5 to play Crom Ludovic's Opus, which is going to draw us a card from the Vanquisher's Banneret. Another 5 to go with the Hordewing Scab, which if we wait to do our combat, of course we wouldn't have known this, but it might have would have been better for sure to get that into play, go to combat, swing out with our zombies. I think this is a zombie now too, right? But it has summoning sickness. This does not have summoning sickness. And then send one at one player, one at another player, one at another player. So then we get 3 activations of the Hordewing Scab, which means I would draw 3 cards and then I would discard 3 cards. 2, 3. And then that's exactly what we were looking for. We get the carrying. Sorry, I guess we also have to discard 3 cards. And we would get the carrying feeder. So this would give. So -1, -1 to everything. -1, -1 to everything. -1, -1 to everything. This dies. -1, -1 to everything. And then we can sack Gravecrawler, play Gravecrawler, which is going to draw us 2 cards. It draws 2 cards. And then that is going to cause another -1, -1. And we're going to get this from the Gravecrawler. We also, and I missed this, we also got, did I miss this? I think I did. If I didn't, it's whatever. We also get a 2/2 from Dockside Extortionist coming into play. And those will be another -1, -1 counter, another -1, -1 counter. And that would sadly kill the Scarab God. And when he dies, return it to the owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So at the end step, we go back to our hand anyways. And now that's a decent board, and we probably just board wiped everybody. And we're the only one with a board right now. Is how that would have played out. So kind of a slow start. Missed a bunch of land drops coming into this, but we caught it up, and now it's and this would have +1/+1 from sacking the Gravecrawler, which then where's Grave? It did come back. Boom. Which we. And this one says whenever you cast, yeah. So it's just whenever I cast Gravecrawler, I got to draw 2 cards each time. And then we sadly ran out of mana. We'd go to our end step. Because Mahadi was in play, we would get treasures equal to the amount of tokens that, or the amount of creatures that died. And oops, not that one. And for us alone, Scarab died, Mahadi died. So that's 2 treasures, but very likely that that a bunch of our creatures, like we wiped the rest of our creatures, or the rest of our opponent's creatures off the board. So who knows? I mean, something like 9 treasures going into the next turn. And that so if this was where is he? If Mahadi was a pitiless plunderer, we would be getting this mana immediately, which would cause us to get infinite mana from being able to play infinite amount of zombies, replaying Gravecrawler over and over, which would kill everything with the Noxious Ghoul. It would allow us to play the Yar first of the Locked Lane, continue to do that, and kill all of our opponents. I don't find that fun. I don't think that's a fun way to win. But if we were playing the better version of Mahadi, we could have won doing that. I think it's lame. I like to get my treasures at the end of my turn, so then my opponents have the opportunity to respond to my board. We can actually have a game instead of just I win. Whoop-de-doo. Now they can interact with my board. So my board's doing something strong, it's doing something fun and powerful, and then they have to deal with it, right? And win with that. So thanks for stopping by. See you guys next time. Cheers.